welcome everybody here to the X Bomb Sports live show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you're all having a magical Monday. We are, of course, coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here at the O'Hare campus. Again, everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope everybody out there is enjoying the sunlight here in the great city of Chicago. I know I finally got the chance to shed a coat for once. It took forever. It's nice outside, so I hope you guys are being able to get that fresh air, enjoy some sun, and I don't know, be able to not be freezing for once. That's nice to have for finally. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about, obviously, for this show. We have college basketball, of course. We have NFL football that we're going to get to as well. But obviously, as you guys can see, you guys can always find us on all the wonderful social media stuff, right? You can find us on YouTube, on Twitch. We're going live there. Follow us at XBomb Sports on Instagram and on Twitter as well. And, of course, any questions or comments, you guys can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com, too. We always want to hear from you guys on that stuff as well. We've got a lot to talk about today. Again, I'm very excited for this one. Obviously, before we kind of get into it, I didn't get a chance to kind of put together a thing for it, if you will. I didn't get a chance to put a show together on this necessarily. But the big breaking news of the day is that John Calipari, the former head coach of the Kansas, Jesus. I'm sleep deprived. I apologize, people. I slept on a couch. John Calipari of the Kentucky Wildcats is no longer the head coach at Kentucky. He is now moving on to the Arkansas Razorbacks on a 5-year deal, which will apparently allow him, as what we've known, to be a fresh start. That's just the breaking news. We don't have a lot more details on that as well. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that as we go along through Blow the Whistle and a few of the other programs that we'll have along the way. But there it is, John Calipari, no longer the head coach at the University of Kentucky. So just wanted to be able to put that news out there. Obviously, congratulations to him. He's moving on and getting a fresh start. What will Kentucky do in terms of replacing John Calipari? It's going to be interesting to see, that's for sure. But let's get into the news of the day. Not the wrestling stuff, because we're going to save that for the boys of Bad Karma, because that's their forte for sure. But let's talk about college basketball, and in particular, talking about the women's college basketball that went down on Sunday, the big game, South Carolina, Iowa. Who else prevails but the University of South Carolina, right? South Carolina came up on top to win their third national title over Iowa in an 87-75 matchup. A very dominant effort once again by South Carolina. A well done job there by SC. And honestly, predictable as well. Coming off the bench, and she was hitting all her threes. She did a fantastic job. I mean, just tremendous stuff along the way for what we saw, for what she was capable of doing and what that team was capable of doing. It was very much one woman versus an entire team of individuals, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark took them all on, and you got to give her a lot of credit for what she did. But for what South Carolina accomplished here, this certainly puts Dawn Staley in that conversation as one of the greatest women coaches of all time. And I think also she is propelling herself into that greatest college basketball coaches conversation of all time. She's won 3 national titles now with this college, right? She's done a tremendous job at putting her best foot forward, recruiting some of the best recruits in the country, and getting these teams to play together, right? She's connecting with all of these young women and finding a way to be able to get them to connect and click, and all of a sudden, boom, they're winning titles. They're beating teams. They're going undefeated. I mean, she has done a tremendous job. You know, I mean, she's becoming more of a trailblazer now for many of the young coaches that are up and coming, and she certainly is dominating the scene. I mean, back to 2 titles in 3 years, 3 titles in her time being there. I mean, that's certainly something for domination. And she's not done yet either. She's got a lot more left in the tank. She's going to keep going with South Carolina. I don't think she's leaving. I don't think she's going to do anything different. It's impressive to watch her work too. The way that she connects with these young women and the way that she can get the best out of ones. I mean, you watch Johnson. You don't really recognize her or know her, but all of a sudden, boom, she comes off the bench, 19 points, shooting from three, right? She's doing things that we've seen Caitlin Clark do numerous times. It's a fantastic effort by South Carolina, and I was really impressed with the game. The game did a great job. And then, obviously, on the opposite side, you've got Caitlin Clark, right? Who Dawn Staley, the head coach of South Carolina again, called her the GOAT, right? Called her the GOAT, or one of the GOATs of the game. And, you know, I had this conversation with somebody after the game. I was talking with one of my coworkers because we were kind of watching the game as we were at work, unfortunately. And he said, man, she's going to change the game. And I said, I don't necessarily think she's going to change the game. I think she's going to elevate the game, right? Because Caitlin Clark's not doing anything different than what we've seen some of these women do already currently in the WNBA and college basketball, right? Sabrina Ionescu came in and she's hitting three-pointers and big jump shots and all that stuff. Caitlin Clark is kind of just doing what Sabrina Ionescu did, but she's doing it on a bigger level, right? She's scoring more points. She's hitting them from deeper threes. She's playing not better than her, but on a different level. And also, it's fair to say that Caitlin Clark is also more recognizable because you see her more. Sabrina Ionescu's games come on at 9:30 at night when she was at Oregon. You see Caitlin Clark all the time on primetime because it's the Midwest, right? Those games come on pretty early. Those games come on pretty easily when you're at home and you need to watch a game. But she's been fantastic. I don't know if she's the greatest of all time necessarily, but I would certainly say she's one of them. I would say she's top 5. I would easily say she's one of the top 5 women college basketball players of all time. She's talented. She's absolutely amazing with the way that she's able to play. Because she can challenge a lot of the men, I think, in the NBA as far as just shooter goes. Because she does it so smoothly. The shot just rolls off the fingers, goes right into the bucket, looks like nothing. Now, I know it's a different game, and I know there are those that, unfortunately, they're just going to be so judgmental on that level, and there's nothing really changing on that. But I'm impressed with what I've seen from her. I think that she can go in and she can continue to dominate. She has that ability and effect to be able to continue to grow on and go on and play in the next level and be successful. Right? I mean, Caitlin Clark has done tremendous things with Iowa. She's taken them to new heights. And she's really been incredible for the game of basketball. And this is where I want to come to kind of this overwhelmingly bigger story that's here, right? Which is we're now seeing the change that we've wanted to see in women's sports probably for a while. And look, us here at XBomb, those of us that blow the whistle, we've had hashtag more women's sports. We want to see more of it. We want to see it become more competitive. We want to see more dominant, opportunities for women in professional sports and sports in general. Overall, though, the overlapping quality we're seeing now in the game from especially women's college basketball is immense because they are coming into a new era. This is a new chapter in women's college, in women's sports in general. Honestly, I think this is going to be a momentous occasion for women's sports especially. And look, I know I'm a guy up here talking about women's sports and everything, but let's recognize, like, in our society, we've definitely treated women terribly, right, throughout the years. We certainly have. And, progress has certainly been made, but not to the extent that I think it has to be. I think there's much more, way more that needs to be done and can be done and should be done, right? I mean, I can't stress that enough, and I think will be done. But I think this is a big moment, too, because you see Caitlin Clark, you see Angel Reese, you see Paige Beckers, you see all these talented young women who are in college who are going to be entering the WNBA, which is the professional level for women's basketball, right? And they're coming in with brands, big names, opportunities, and it is going to only help grow not just women's basketball, but basketball as a whole. And it's tremendous to see where I think this can potentially take women's sports as a whole also. Because if you have the success of these women in that professional level, then you're going to see the National Women's Soccer League start to maybe take off. I believe it's the National Women's Hockey League as well is also going to start to take off. You're going to see the ripple effects of what their success could potentially mean for those who want to compete at the professional level in the women's games, right? And that will mean then that there will be more people that will attend the games and more advertisers and more sponsors, which means more money, which means the salaries can go up. Because that's kind of part of the problem here. Like, I understand that for athletes there is that equal pay talk. But the problem is that when it comes down to the business side of things, and I'm not saying this is right, but this is just the way it is, unfortunately, in business. If your league isn't drawing in the sponsors and the brands and all that stuff, it's not going to be able to make as much money as others, right? The NFL makes what? Almost like $3 billion a year, but look at all the sponsors they get. The NBA, look at all the sponsors they get. That's why they're a $2.5–3 billion organization themselves as well, right? I mean, it's important to note that kind of stuff, right? It's unfortunate, but it's part of the effect. Now, keep this in mind, though. It took the NFL over 100 years to get here, and it took the NBA like 70 years to get here. Like, the WNBA is still fairly fresh. It's still fairly new. And we're looking to try and see, well, where can the game grow? How can we get it to a point where it is more independent, where it is able to stand on its own two shoulders, where they are able to do more, right? And I understand that. I mean, and I think this is that jumping point, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark could be their Michael Jordan, their Magic Johnson, their LeBron potentially, right? Their Steph. She could be that signature player that pops for them as she does commercials and TVs, and, you know, she's on the internet with Instagram and I'm sure TikTok, and she's doing all this stuff, and she's gaining followers, and everybody's buying her jersey and buying her merch and all that stuff, right? And then you've got others like Angel Reese. Angel Reese is an unapologetic, you know, a little bit of the bad girl, if you will, kind of thing, right? You know, in that kind of sense, right? She kind of is like wearing the black hat, if you will, in a kind of way, you know. And I like that. I like that there's that dichotomy, if you will. And she's not afraid to just talk smack, talk chatter, right? Get rough, throw elbows. That's good. That's good. Like, that, bring that physicality. That's great for the game. You know? Because that's going to help evolutionize it and grow it and everything. Now, not like anything needs to happen on a more physical level or anything like that, but like, obviously, it's about getting this game to another level, and I see that with these young. I mean, Paige Beckers is not even coming out this year. She's going back into the college ranks this year, and she'll come out of the draft next year, which stinks because I really wanted to see her play here in Chicago. She was being projected to go to the Sky at 3. I was really hoping. I was like, I'm going to go to a Sky game because I want to see Paige Beckers, because that's the draw that these women have. They're coming in with a brand. They're coming in with a name. You've seen them play. You've seen their game in college. Right? You've seen how they can progress. And you see the strength that they all have as well. Not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally. They're bringing in that passion, that energy, that focus. They're bringing that to the table, and that's going to make huge shifts in the way that this game works, right? Again, I know for many, maybe progress has been slow. It's been limited. Can we do more? Of course, absolutely. You can always do more. But I think this is the jumping point. This is the momentum that the WNBA, women's college basketball, women's sports in general has really needed. They didn't ask for, but they've gotten and kind of needed to push them to that next level. Because if you don't know, allow me to note for you, the last 3 games we've seen, from mostly Caitlin Clark's being a part of them, they've had over 10 million concurrent viewers on average. It's like 12 million something average at the height of its powers according to Nielsen ratings. That's huge. that rivals any men's college basketball, any men's college football, right? That rivals that kind of stuff. That's immense. That's amazing. Like, do you know how powerful that is? That's crazy good. That's the case. And if that is Caitlin Clark, then she's got a lot of weight on her shoulder, I'm sure, and it's unnecessary weight on her shoulder to carry the WNBA and carry women's basketball if that's the case, which I hope she doesn't feel that pressure, but I feel like she's capable of handling it because she's going to be the drawing card. Indiana, the Fever, the women's basketball team in Indiana, they've already said, we've sold out. We've sold out tickets because she's projected to be their pick at number 1. That's crazy. That's crazy. But that's the draw you need, right? People did it when Michael Jordan was playing. They did it when LeBron was playing. They did it when Kobe was playing. Having that star helps a lot. It's not that you should bankroll on that one star. No. But she's like the main attraction. And from her, you get an Angel Reese, you get Paige Beckers, you get Cardozo, you get all these young women who are coming into the league now, not just this year, but for the next few years, and they're going to help fuel the fire that will intensify for women's professional basketball and professional sports and women's sports in general, all the way around. You know, when you have those stars, you are more willing to go watch those games. People are more willing to buy the tickets. They're more willing to watch it on TV. Right? It's the reality. And guess what? And that will help drive the business. And once that business is booming, well, that's when you can start talking about upping the salaries and making sure that they're taken care of with private jets and things like that. That's where that leads to. Those changes that you're looking for, those opportunities that these women have been looking for, it's right there in front of them. This is kind of their golden goose, if you will. Not Caitlin Clark. It's the entirety of what this new age of women's basketball and women's sports looks like, where there is talent, and I mean talent, in the game. And my only worry for the WNBA is that can they produce a market for them? Can you market these women properly so that they are seen as the strong physical athletes that they are, as well as being able to make sure that people come out and see them on a regular basis? Because it's easy to sell Caitlin Clark, but can you sell Angel Reese, and can you sell Jackson, and can you sell Cardozo, and can you sell all these big names that are coming into the WNBA this year? I'm happy to see the progression is being made. We talked about this 5 years ago, seeing more women's sports in college and in the pro level. And I think this is kind of the momentum that we were talking about that we needed to see. I'm hopeful for the best. I'm intrigued. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. I think this is a moment. This is a big moment, a big step forward. Again, I'm just a dude. I'm a guy, so I understand that people might see and hear what I'm saying, and take it for what you will. I understand that. But I've been nothing but impressed with what I've seen from women's college basketball, from these young women, and what they're going to do going forward into the pro level. I think they're going to take it to another level. Maybe not the level that everybody wants it to be, but they're going to take it to that next level so they can get to the next one and the next one and the next one. It's just going to keep stacking up. Again, it's going to take time, but this is a starting point. This is a big starting point. Obviously, guys, let us know. What do you think about the women's national championship? What do you think about Caitlin Clark? What do you think about the women's game? How do you think that this is going to start changing stuff? We want to hear from you guys. Obviously, comment down below. Let us know. We want to hear all your thoughts, opinions, everything like that. Please let us know everything you guys got. When we come back, though, folks, from break, away from the women's game, we're going to talk a little bit more on college basketball, but we're going to be talking about the men's game and what's being set up for what could be a pretty momentous opportunity for the men's college basketball to have a very good matchup here, and that's coming up next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
The Chicagoland area has a large number of lonely dogs currently filling shelter pens, just waiting to find a family. Nothing adds warmth to a home like a wagging tail and a warm pair of brown eyes. If you are considering adding a dog to your household, visit the Anderson Animal Shelter, where adoption counselors can assist you in selecting your new best friend. Make your house a home. Adopt a shelter dog. To see a current list of adoptees, visit their website at www.andersonanimalshelter.org or meet them in person at 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin. Don't have room in the home for a new furry family member? Donations of toys, collars, and soft or hard non-perishable dog food are always accepted and are greatly appreciated. All animals are spayed or neutered and are waiting with tails wagging to find a loving home. Visit 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin or www.andersonanimalshelter.org for more details.
Hey, watch your mouth.
Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. Boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself. You're fired.
And oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Welcome back, everybody, here to the X Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin, because who else would I be? We just got. I'm sorry, I threw myself off there, and I don't know what's going on with me today. Wow. I've instructed my wonderful technical director Antonia, if I do fall asleep at any point in here, paper balls will be thrown at me to wake me up, but also for your entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, we just got done talking about women's college basketball and the efforts, obviously, of what will, I think, be a momentous moment for the WNBA. And now we're going into men's college basketball because, of course, we have to talk about it. Tonight is the matchup. We have Purdue and UConn. They are matching up. They are the last two teams at the dance. They are going for it, folks. It is the biggest matchup I can think of in a while, in a quite literal sense, right? You have two of the biggest players in the game right now, quite literally, in Zach Edey and Klingon from UConn. They're going to be matching up with each other, and it is a huge moment for men's college basketball to get this kind of opportunity for number ones to match up, right? These teams obviously had sort of easy paths, I would say, to get to the national championship here, right? And they had their few moments here and there where they got pushed around a little bit, but they always seemed to find a way to come back with their best players being the ones that stepped up. Now, kind of like we saw with the women's college basketball national championship, this could be the same thing, right? This is where you have one guy really kind of being the dominant figure in all of men's college basketball, and Zach Edey, who is going to be taking on the entire UConn team, it feels like, right? And it's making it for a more interesting matchup, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that feel it's going to swing very one-sided on this one. And look, Zach Edey, as I like to call him, UConn Yao, he is a guy. He is one of the guys that I think you can look at and say, well, if you can go to anybody, you can rely on him. He's 7'4". He's 300 pounds. He's easily one of the most talented individuals we've seen in college basketball history, I would say, in the last 5 years. For his size and his skill, it's incredible, right? We've not seen momentum like him in a long time. He is gifted as a bigger guy. You don't see guys move that well sometimes in the post. And yet at 7'4", 300 pounds, he can pivot on his toes, lay up a basket off the board. I mean, he has that unique ability to have finesse while also being the most powerful athlete on the court. It's crazy. It's crazy, which is why I think, even though this doesn't pertain to necessarily his college basketball status, I think the guy's going to be a lottery pick, right? I think he's going to be a first-round pick potentially in the NBA draft, because what team doesn't look at a guy that's 7'4", 300 pounds, that can block shots, rebound, and score inside and say, man, we really don't need that guy? Like, who's saying that? That's ridiculous. Now, I understand that for a lot of people, well, I mean, come on, Andrew, how does he really match up in terms of what the NBA has? I've heard that numerous times, because you've got Victor Wembanyama right now, who's the 19-year-old rookie phenom, who can dunk, rebound, block shots, shoot threes, dribble off guys, right? Go one-on-one with the ISO. He can do a lot of different things. But he's also a one-of-a-kind, unique, never-gonna-find-this-guy athlete. At least that's what I believe. And then you have a player like Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic who can do similar things than Victor Wembanyama, but they're maybe not as skilled. But they're big, 7-foot, 280-plus pound guys who can play in the post, kick out and hit a three, hit a baby jumper, rebound, assist, block shot. They can do everything. And the problem is that this guy, well, he doesn't really work on that level. He's a classic back to the basket, rebound, putbacks, block shots, right? Dunk on you, lay it up off the glass. You know, he's a throwback in a lot of ways. But is that necessarily a bad thing? No, it's not. But people are going to project it as being, ooh, I don't know. Like, does he have the stamina? He's playing 30-plus minutes a game. What do you mean, does he have the stamina? Can he ever develop a three-point shot? Do you need him to? He's 7'4". The guy can go like this and just drop the ball in the basket. Like, do you know how bad it is? I'm 5'9". I have to have people move the basket down for me if I ever want to know what it's like to dunk. Because I just don't have the hops for it. Not yet, at least. We'll see about the future. But it blows my mind that people don't give more credit to this guy. I would say he's maybe the best player in Purdue history. The best player at that school in the history of the game. Nobody else has won a 2-time National Player of the Year award. He will likely win his second. And if he wins a national title with Purdue this time, how can you deny him? How can you deny him that? I'm impressed with what I've seen. But listen, on the other side of this as well, you've got Connecticut, UConn. And they know how to play great basketball. All right? They absolutely know how to play the best of basketball. You've got a coach in Hurley who certainly knows the game to a high level, right? The guy knows exactly how to get it done as a head coach, and UConn has this three-headed beast of a backcourt, if you will, right? Which is really only two, but they play with three guards, and that's Spencer, Newton, and Castle, okay? Spencer and Newton, I believe, are seniors. They're the oldest. And then you've got this kid Castle, who's a 5-star recruit, who's a freshman, who just led them in the Final Four in points with 21 of them. He stepped up. Everybody's doing their job, but he's the guy as a freshman in that moment. Final Four, that's a big moment. He steps up and he gets them into a position where they're winning the game in a dominant fashion and they end up going to the national championship. It's incredible to watch those guys play. I mean, Castle's being projected as a top 10 pick. Please, Bulls, please. He's so talented. Right? But Newton and Spencer are not guys to shake off either. Their defense and their ability to score, they're right there with them. This is a team that is well-rounded, and obviously I didn't mention Klingon, their big 7'2" guy who's really a defensive force, and he's going to be the best matchup that Zach Edey's ever had in his life. But that's the thing about UConn, though, you have to keep in mind. Their whole argument, their whole push is that they are about team. It's about the team. It's not really about one individual being the difference maker, right? I mean, when one guy does step up, that's great. But ultimately, they still want it to be about the other 15 guys on the roster and the other 4 guys that are out there on the court at any given time. They go 10 deep. That's how good this team is. They know they can rely on guys coming off the bench to help make plays for them. But the bulk of their work is done in the starting 5 because they're an incredible group to work together. I'm very impressed with what I've seen from them. Very impressed. Which is why that they're probably going to go off and maybe win another national championship again. Go back to back. It's not going to be easy because Purdue's not going to make it easy. And Zach Edey is not going to make it easy. But the matchup that these two have right now is going to be incredible. So, what are we looking at with these two, right? UConn is a 7.5-point favorite. Over-under's at 46.5. I mean, this is the big game, right? This is the one that's going to make the big difference in where I think college basketball goes from here, right? I mean, that's how big I think this could actually be. Because Purdue plays with that more inside presence. UConn has that we can do everything kind of momentum. So I guess the question is going to be, can the one-man star pull it off versus an entire team of talented players? And it's not to take anything away from Purdue, as it's not taking anything away from Iowa when I talk about Caitlin Clark and the success that she's had as well. But when you talk about these athletes and the talent that they have and what they can do for their teams, it is very hard to it's hard to ignore the fact that they have the ability to potentially push the envelope, right? And make a difference for their units. It leaves me stunned for words because both of them, both Caitlin Clark and Zach Edey, they make up such a big difference for their squad. And Zach Edey's a hard guy to guard. And not only that, he's a hard guy to officiate. When you're that big and that strong, you're going to get a lot of favorable calls, right? A lot of people are going to look at you and say, man, how do you push the boundaries on that? That's an interesting question. I don't know. I do not know. But how can you overcome a UConn team that has certainly shown its superiority for the last two years, right? Sorry. It's difficult. They're a good team. They run so many players deep. I don't know if they're going to be able to have that ability to overcome what one man can do. I would think so, and that's why they're getting a 7.5-point favor. If I have to pick one, I would love to see Purdue win it. But the professional in me would say you got to go with UConn. They're more talented, they're more loaded, right? They've got unique talent and athleticism. Purdue does too, but you don't see it all the time. And they're very one-man reliant, right? They're very one-man reliant. And as I'm sure we all know, putting it all on one person, boy, that's a lot of pressure. Boy, that is a lot of pressure. Some people can handle it. I think Zach Edey can. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right move to make. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you should just throw that he personally, nor should the team say, all right, carry us, man. Honestly, I think UConn is going to come out of this as the winner at the end of the day. They're too athletic, they're too talented, and they're just too deep. And they're well coached. Not that Matt Painter for Purdue is not a good coach, but at the way I see it, Hurley winning the title last year, proving himself for UConn this time around, I can't see it going any other way other than UConn coming out of this. And I think they beat this 7.5 points. I absolutely see this team potentially coming out, getting right in the face of Purdue, having like a 6-point lead at the half, and stretching it out to maybe a 12 to 15-point lead themselves by the end of the game. That's the professional in me. The personal side of me would love to see this kid get his flowers and win a title for Purdue, because they have been fighting for this for years now, right? They've been so good for the last few years with guys like Jaden Ivey and Carson Edwards and all these dudes that have been around for the last decade or so, but they never get anywhere. This is they finally have the moment to be able to capture a title, but they're going up against a team that is so good. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, because it's just one man really competing against an entire team, an entire squad of players. So I'm going to go UConn. I'm going to say they easily beat that 7.5 points. But I'm still going to take, I'm going to take the over on it. I would take the over on it. Right? Just the scoring's going to probably be outrageous, big numbers, all that kind of stuff. So I could definitely could see UConn coming out of this, folks. And with a very, very big win. But obviously, guys, let us know what you think. Comment down below. We're interested in it. What do you think about the matchup we've got going on tonight? Here, let us know. Hear us out. Give us your opinions. Give us your thoughts. Do you think Zach Edey is going to be a top lottery pick? What do you think about the UConn team? Do you think that maybe they're one of the best teams we've seen in a long time? Do you think that maybe they're one of the more underrated teams to come through in a long time for a college basketball championship? And what do you ultimately think is going to happen in this national title today? It starts off at 6 o'clock. Be there or be square. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This is going to be a fun one to watch. That was for sure. This is for sure. But I think this is going to have some major waves potentially come through on the college level again. But let us know, ladies and gentlemen. And when we finally, ladies and gentlemen, we do come back, we're going to do the NFL, but we're going to do the NFL with something a little bit different I've done. We've done picks and predictions before. This is going to be a different version of picks and predictions. This is going to be the NFL Draft Edition. So picks and predictions for the NFL Draft, that's going to be coming up right next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
The Chicagoland area has a large number of lonely dogs currently filling shelter pens, just waiting to find a family. Nothing adds warmth to a home like a wagging tail and a warm pair of brown eyes. If you are considering adding a dog to your household, visit the Anderson Animal Shelter, where adoption counselors can assist you in selecting your new best friend. Make your house a home. Adopt a shelter dog. To see a current list of adoptees, visit their website at www.andersonanimalshelter.org or meet them in person at 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin. Don't have room in the home for a new furry family member? Donations of toys, collars, and soft or hard non-perishable dog food are always accepted and are greatly appreciated. All animals are spayed or neutered and are waiting with tails wagging to find a loving home. Visit 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin or www.andersonanimalshelter.org for more details.
Hey, watch your mouth. Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work. I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none. Yeah, worth a recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother. Hey, you get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir. Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
That is all. Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. It's the boss. Hey, sir, go yourself. You're fired!
And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports live show. Again, everybody, hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Hope the day's been great for you. Hope everybody's getting out. God, it is nice outside. I just checked the weather. It's like 60 outside. That's crazy. I mean, it's supposed to be 60 outside, but what? The last week, it was all 30s and raining and snowing for a while. Midwest stinks with its weather. God. What do we do to make it so mad? It's fine. Well, folks, we just got done talking about women's college basketball, men's college basketball. Well, now we're going to shift into a different paradigm. We're going to go back to the NFL, as we usually do. And as I have done in the past, we've done picks and predictions for games. Well, this is going to be pick predictions. This is going to be NFL Draft Pick Predictions Edition, where I have 5 predictions for the 2024 NFL Draft that I believe could happen. Not will happen, but I think could happen. I was sitting at work, bored out of my mind, and I had the opportunity to kind of come up with these on the fly as I was filling out the show for the day, and I thought these would be some really good things to share because for those that don't know, April 25th in Rosemont, Illinois, we of X-Bomb, as well as numerous others from other shows, including Blow the Whistle, Combs and Fitz, and No Gimmicks, along with Bad Karma and a few other. We are going to be live in Rosemont at Dave & Buster's, April 25th, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time is when it starts. The stream, the live show, we will be there to do the entirety of the NFL Draft's first round. So if you want to join us, folks, again, that is going to be April 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Join with us, be it the live stream or in person, but we would love to see you in person. Come get some food, have some drinks, things, play some games, bring the kids, bring the whole family. It's going to be a great opportunity, a great event. You're going to have a lot of fun. We cannot wait. I've been dreaming of this moment for 7 years, and it finally is happening, and I want you guys to be there. But I decided since we're going to be there, God, we're going to be there soon, very soon. So much work we still have to do. But we have the draft coming up, and I thought, you know what? It would be fun if we just did some sort of nice little picks and predictions kind of deal where I give you the predictions of what I think could happen in the draft. I've chosen 5 teams that I think is going to happen in this draft. In no particular order, no top 5. These are just 5 things that I think will happen in the draft, or that could happen in the draft. But I'm predicting they will happen. So take it for what you will, as a grain of salt, whatever it is. But let's start this off. So the first one I've got is the Minnesota Vikings. Do not trade up. I know the speculation is they got 2 first-round picks. I know the idea is that they're going to move up in the draft. I get that. I understand that. I know where you're coming from on that. Hear me out, though. I do think Minnesota is going to stay pat. They stay at 11. They stay at 23, if I'm not mistaken. And they still get their quarterback. I mean, there's 3 quarterbacks that are going to be on the board after the top 5, right? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May are all going to be gone. Now, J.J. McCarthy could be gone to the Giants at 6. That's still something that's out there. And the Cardinals and the Chargers are still both experimenting with the idea of trading down from their picks to get multiple picks, because these are 2 teams that need a lot. So the Vikings, I'm sure, are looking at them saying, we could get a top quarterback, and also they're looking at it saying, we could get a lot in the draft. But I think Minnesota may look at this and say, well, if we just sit and wait, we don't necessarily need to take JJ. We could take Michael Penix Jr. at 23 because he's projected to go in the second round, right? Or Bo Nix, who's also projected to possibly fall in the second round. And then with the 11th pick, you shore up your offensive line. You shore up your defense with an edge rusher. You get somebody in there that can help give you momentum. Because let's be honest, the Vikings last year were not great. They were kind of down. And this is kind of a moment where they need to pick it up. So I'm going to say I think Minnesota doesn't move up. They stay at their positions. They take Penix Jr. with the 23rd pick. They get their quarterback. I think Minnesota's in a great spot where they can be successful then. Like that, they just add more to the pile of the talent that will likely be in the NFC North. So my first prediction is Minnesota does not move off. Next, we've got Vegas hits the mini jackpot. Now, this is something that a lot of people maybe don't think is going to happen for sure, because you're looking at the draft and you're seeing what the Raiders have at quarterback and you're going, that's not enough, right? They've got 3 quarterbacks on their roster right now. None of them are extremely talented. You know, nothing against Aiden O'Connell. He's just not that great a quarterback. But what they do have is an option to either stay at their spot and take a quarterback, or what the Raiders could do is trade back in the draft, get more picks, and still get their quarterback. I think the Raiders could potentially take either Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. Those 2 guys will still be on the board when the Raiders come up, right? And the Raiders, I think, have the momentum and the ability to say to themselves, okay, look, we've got a talented receiver in Davante Adams, right? You've got Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins now on the defensive line. They're likely going to continue to build on their cornerbacks and their safeties, which is where they need the most help. They're going to add more receiver help, I'm sure, later in the draft. And they could always use more help on the offensive line. But they need a quarterback. They need somebody. Unless they think they're just going to wait and find somebody later in the draft, or they're going to try and find somebody in next year's draft. That's possible too. But I think the Raiders could potentially look at this and say, look, we trade back, we get more picks, and then we can go get a quarterback later. Because I do think that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. will fall in this draft. Now, you could say they're reaching, but if you need a quarterback, you take a quarterback. And that's where my prediction is going to sit at. I will say I think the Raiders move back. I think they get more picks. They load up on talent. This is a new era for the Raiders to potentially be working in, with Antonio Pierce being the new head coach. I think they go get a quarterback. I think they go get a lot more for their draft. I like where the sorry, I'm getting all choked up on them. I like where the Raiders are at. I think that they could do something like that. Moving up would mean you're going to have to trade more off, and that's going to be a problem because Devontae is already kind of coming off as a little bit of Mr. Unhappy. You want to keep your best player happy as much as possible. This is going to be an opportunity for them, I think, to be able to make him happy. Get a QB, get more picks, get more players, drive up the opportunities for your team to be loaded with the roster. Boom. I think the Raiders are going to be good then. My next one, this is one that it's far-fetched maybe, but it is the Steelers stealing a tackle. The Steelers stealing a tackle, okay? Pittsburgh is going to trade up into the draft, and I think they're going to go try and get Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle from Penn State. He's the local guy from State College, if you will, right? He's arguably one of the best offensive linemen in this draft, although he's kind of moving like all around now. Like, he's kind of falling up and down as far as people being in love with him as far as an offensive tackle. But I think the Steelers see him and see his physicality, and I think they can potentially look at that and say, listen, we have Russell Wilson at quarterback, and we have Justin Fields at quarterback. Whoever's going to be the starting quarterback, you need to be able to protect them. And he's a guy that you can stick in at left tackle while Braxton Jones is at right tackle, and there's your two dominant figures at the ends to protect your quarterback. And honestly, with Russell Wilson's injury history as of late, right? I mean, for 10 years, he never got hurt, and then all of a sudden in Seattle, he finally gets hurt. And now all of a sudden, he's Mr. Injury Prone. So this is the kind of stuff that you have to kind of keep in mind. So I understand the Steelers staying at 20, taking a defensive lineman, doing their thing, always signing a defensive player, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be the momentum changer for them. Take an offensive tackle. Protect your quarterback. Keep him safe. Because you got him for a year, and then he's done, right? Give him the best chance to be able to be successful with your team. I know you still need a lot, but the Steelers can find receivers later in the draft. They have found defensive players that have been effective later in the draft. Finding an offensive lineman, that's been a little bit harder for them to do. That's not been an easy thing for them. And if you want to see the best of what Najee Harris and Russell Wilson and even Justin Fields can do, that's going to be your best bet. So I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, for the Steelers, right, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think their best chances are to move up and go get Olu Fashanu, because, quite frankly, with the rest of the offensive tackles, it's hit or miss. And I don't think the Steelers can necessarily afford to hit or miss on an offensive tackle to protect their quarterback. You've got to be able to go out and get the best guy possible. And he's one of the best guys possible. Now, it doesn't necessarily even need to be Olu Fashanu, and he could be gone before then, for all we know. Because I think if the Chargers take Joe Alt, and they very much could, then Tennessee's likely going to take Olu Fashanu or Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. But I think Olu Fashanu just makes sense for the Steelers. He's in Pennsylvania. He's at State College. He's one of the best in the country. He's got all the physical tools and all the talent to be that guy. I like him as the Steelers' offensive tackle. I think they move up and get him. That's my third prediction. My fourth prediction for the draft is Buffalo, the Bills. They're going to get bold, folks. They're going to get bold. So we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but Stephon Diggs traded from Buffalo, going to the Texans, right? Top receiver. He's going to have a bit of a buyout situation going on with Buffalo, right? The Bills, ultimately, they are looking at the draft, and I think they're seeing themselves probably picking a receiver. I've seen them picking anybody from A.D. Mitchell to Keon Coleman. So they're going for like the big physical 6'4" wide receiver for Josh Allen to be able to throw the ball to, right? And you can't blame them, but here's what I want to tell people. They now have an extra second-round pick because of the Stephon Diggs trade, right? They have an extra draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, after this one, in the second round. So what the Bills could potentially do, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what the Bills now could do is they could go in and make some trades and possibly move back into the first round and get another wide receiver, right? They absolutely could find an opportunity in front of themselves to be able to have a big uptick in wide receivers because, quite frankly, they don't have anybody. Their best receiver right now on their roster is Khalil Shakir, who kind of came on at the end to replace Gabe Davis as like the better of the picks at that spot, and now Gabe Davis is gone. And he will likely be a nice, solid receiver that they can continue to work on. But now you add in that extra draft pick of Buffalo to go get somebody. And, you know, you have to wonder, will Buffalo look at this and say, hey, this is a good opportunity for us to go take whoever we need, right? Now, they don't have a lot of money to work with. They got some money they need to kind of keep. But if you sacrifice the picks, move up in the draft, get another first-round pick potentially, you could have 2 wide receivers possibly that could be elite weapons. So that's my 4th prediction. And now for my 5th and final prediction of this one, the Atlanta Falcons are going to fly south. They're going to trade down. That's going to be my 5th selection for this one. Atlanta could stay at 8, and they could get maybe one of the best defensive ends in the draft, be it Jared Verse or Dallas Turner. They're both fantastic players, and Atlanta needs help on defense. But they can still get a guy, I think, later in the draft and get more draft picks and load up their team with a lot of young players to flush out the roster and give themselves a little bit of extra oomph, if you will, right? Because you've got Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. You still have Kyle Pitts and Drake London as the weapons he can throw the ball to, right? You have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier as your running backs that have been very reliable at running the football and being pass catchers too. Well, your offense is looking pretty good because that offensive line is pretty solid. So what do? You can move down in the draft, get more draft picks for now and the future, and you can still probably go get maybe one of the best defensive ends in this game, Laiatu Latu, from the University of UCLA. Kid is versatile. Kid is talented. He can work in a 3-4 or a 4-3, so you don't have to worry about defensive scheming with this guy. He just gets after the quarterback. He is tremendously good. I don't think he's necessarily the best, and you want to certainly get the best. But I think he is still a viable candidate for the Falcons to say, look, we can still get a guy who can be pretty momentous for us and get sacks and get to the quarterback and disrupt play. And we can get more draft picks for now and the future. All we have to do is move down. Because you know there's going to be somebody that wants to move into that 8th spot. Teams are looking to trade up. Others are looking to trade down. Everybody's looking for their opportunity to make a big move, a big splash somewhere. So Atlanta could be looking at that saying, you know what? This is our shot. This is our chance to kind of maybe swing things in our direction where we can actually have a longevity and a future. Because let's be honest, Kirk Cousins is not going to be a longevity and a future. The guy signed for a lot of money for a couple of years, but he's going to be like almost 40 years old by the time that contract is done. So you might want to think about maybe getting another quarterback, getting ready as the backup. You also might want to think about overloading the defense, right? A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates are the best guys you got on defense right now. Otherwise, the rest of those guys I couldn't even name. So, I mean, listen, you stay at 8, you get Dallas Turner, but that's one guy. Maybe you can get more picks potentially and load up the team. If not now, in the future. I think Atlanta should move down. I'm going to predict that Atlanta trades down from the pick. They still get their defensive end in Latu, so they still build momentum for their defense, and they still continue to have a team that will look better next year. It's not going to be a significant overhaul, but I do think they're going to be talented enough to be able to go to that point of being a playoff team. So that's going to be my 5th and final prediction on this one. And that's going to do it for the NFL's top predictions. Obviously, folks, let us know, what do you think about these draft pick predictions? Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? Do you think they're smart? Do you think there's other ones that I haven't named that will happen? Right? I just gave you ones that obviously kind of contradict a lot of what's been talked about and said, but I do think these are things that could happen. And I'm predicting that they will happen. I don't know, but we don't know. We just don't know yet. We still have a couple more weeks. April 25th, Rosemont, Dave & Buster's. Join us, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We want to be around with you guys for that opportunity. And that's going to do it for us here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be it. We are done with this one, and I want to just say thank you all again so much for watching and listening. We really do appreciate it. I also want to say thank you again, Antonio, for being a awesome technical director, producer, just all around good energy for me. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you, obviously, again, to all you guys out there, and thank you to the crew as well, who could not be here. I love you, Scotty, but, you oh, man. And Bijan and all the others as well. But, guys, if you want to check us out anymore, obviously, We're on all the streaming sites right now, YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. You can find us at youtube.com/xbombsports. That's twitch.tv/xbombsports. You can find us, as always, too. We are also on Instagram and Twitter at xbombsports as well. And if you guys want to ask us any more questions or comments, we will get to your questions eventually here as well. You can ask us at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com too. If you guys want to follow me anymore, I'm at DFilthyGuru on Twitter. I'm at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook as well. I finally got the Facebook page back. So you can find us at facebook.com/xbombsports2. We just won't be streaming there, but the stream will be going there. I will be posting the link to the stream on there as well. So we won't stream there because of the issues we've had with them. Nevertheless, you can find the stream on Facebook. Just click it, find the link to it. It'll be there. Other than that, be sure to check out Tony Smalls x Big J. We didn't go 2 weeks ago because technical issues. This week we couldn't go because unfortunately Big J wasn't feeling too well. He had the big stomach flu, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. But he's doing well. He's recovering. So hopefully we will see him this Friday, where you can see he and Tony Smalls here as they continue their journey on this terrifying game, which I'm very excited to see what happens. And I know a lot of you guys have been sending in requests, too, of games that you want to see them play. I appreciate it. I will pass on your suggestions to both Tony Smalls and Big J. I don't know if they're going to play some of them because some of them are pretty freaky. They might be able to handle them. I don't know. But certainly the jump scares might get them a couple of times. So, but I'd be intrigued to see them. I'm a horror fan, so I'm down. I'm definitely. But guys, go check them out. Again, it's Tony Smalls x Big J on Twitter, on Twitch and YouTube, right? Twitch and YouTube, I believe. So be sure, guys, to go check them out. And sorry, I have a person looking at me through a window. So, but guys, on top of that too, make sure to check out Bad Karma Wrestling. That's every Friday. We go 11 o'clock, 11:30 is when we start. That's Double D, David Dykstra, and No Gimmicks, Nick Johnston, as they do their thing here on the desk, talking about all the things in the wrestling world. We just had WrestleMania, so they're going to have a great time on there as well. So be able to check that out, ladies and gents. And that's going to do it for us here again, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it. We will see you guys next Monday, and we will have a lot more to talk about as we go into the draft and everything. But again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.